How's it going? I'm Dr. Benjamin Hardy, and in this video, I'm going to share with you 7 simple reasons why you procrastinate. But before I do that, I'm going to share with you a cool picture that explains how motivation works, because until you know how motivation works, you won't understand why you procrastinate. So let me quickly share my screen with you. This is a picture created by the culture design company called Gaping Void. Their work's amazing. So this is the 3 steps of motivation based on expectancy theory, which is one of the core theories of motivation. So in order to be motivated, you need all 3 of these things. First off, you need a compelling goal. You need a compelling outcome that excites you. If you don't have a compelling goal or outcome, you're not gonna be motivated. Next, you need A to B. You need an actual path to creating that outcome. So if this is where you are and this is where your outcome is, if you don't see the path, if you don't know how to get there, you're not gonna be motivated. It's like you may have the goal to be a millionaire, but if you don't know how to get there, then you're gonna not be that motivated. Part of motivation is finding or discovering or creating the pathway between you and that goal. Number 3 is actually having the confidence or the belief that your actions matter and that you actually can go from A to B. You can learn what it takes, and you can find or discover or walk that path, whatever it may be, or you can create better paths along the way. So you need these 3 things in order to have motivation. And with that said, now I'm going to explain why you procrastinate. Number 1, the number 1 reason is that you're just not clear on the goal. You don't actually know what you want, and so there's too many competing possibilities. You need to clarify the outcome you want. It needs to be very compelling, very exciting. It needs to be very specific. The more clear you are on the outcome, the less you'll procrastinate because you know what you want. So that takes to number 2. There's not enough incentive. Whatever the outcome is, it may not be exciting enough. And so you don't see the real reason for doing it because you just don't value the outcome enough to take action on it. Number 3, it's possible that there's just not enough consequence for inaction. You don't see the consequences of not actually achieving this goal or not achieving it in a timely manner. For you, your perspective is that it doesn't really matter if you procrastinate. It doesn't matter if you don't achieve that goal. So part of actually removing procrastination is making there be huge consequences for not achieving success on this thing. One way to do that is obviously to have other people involved. When you're in partnerships with people, your behavior matters because not only does you not creating the result impact your future self, but it impacts other people. And so the relationship can kind of be what's called a forcing function, where because you're in a relationship with other people, you feel strongly compelled to take action. You also have to ask yourself, if you don't achieve this result, what is that going to cost your future self? If you don't think that the cost is that high, then you're probably not going to be that motivated and you're probably going to procrastinate. So only pursue things where the cost is high for not taking action, where you really value success, and also where the consequences for not moving forward, for not actually doing something today are huge. And part of doing that is actually getting really clear on your future self and really clear on what you want and putting yourself in a position where you have responsibility for your actions. Like if I myself, as one example, I have 5 kids. If I don't actually wake up and work, there's big consequence for failure. So one of the reasons why you procrastinate is probably because you don't see consequences. And part of not seeing consequences is that you're undervaluing your future self. You're undervaluing that what you do today actually is setting up your future self for either failure or success. And so what you do today actually does matter, and you procrastinating is actually digging somewhat of a pit for your future self. You're not valuing or appreciating what's really going on. Number 4, you're not clear on the path. As I said before, motivation is 3 things. Number 1, you have a goal. Number 2, you have a path to getting there. And number 3, you're building the confidence that you can actually do it by clarifying that path, by finding a better path. And this is actually a huge aspect of motivation, but it's also a huge aspect of hope. So there's a lot of research on hope. And one of the aspects of hope is what's called pathways thinking. And you won't have hope or motivation if you don't see a path to getting what you want. So let's just say you have a goal that you really want, but you don't actually know how to get there. Then you're probably going to procrastinate. And so part of learning and part of growing is actually, first off, finding a path, trying a path, and then fixing the path. There's a lot of research on the difference between high hope people and low hope people. People with high hope, they move forward and they're taking action, and they also adjust their path and find better ways when it's obvious that their former ways weren't producing the results they want. So if you have big goals, take action moving forward towards any path you can find. Research it on Google, ask people for help. Figure out a path towards your goal, start taking action, then as you take action, take stock. And is your current approach actually going to get you there in the time you want? And if not, you're going to have to adjust the path. And the more serious and committed you get towards your future, the more you'll find better ways. Sometimes the best ways take a lot more courage. They're not doing things how you used to do it. What got you here won't get you there. So there's always a better path to achieving what you want. And the more committed you become to this goal, the more you'll find a much more effective and powerful path, even though that path will probably take you out of your current comfort zone. That's how you get there faster. And once you clarify that path, you're gonna get more confidence and excited. So you probably procrastinate because you don't see the best path, or you don't even see a path to getting what you want. Number 5, you don't have the next step. So this goes back to path, but sometimes you procrastinate because you haven't set yourself up for the next step. So the author, Ernest Hemingway, what he would often do is when he was writing, at the end of the day, he would actually leave himself, he would finish the day halfway through a sentence. And the reason he did that is because when he woke up the next morning, he wanted to actually have the next step in place. He wanted to know what to do. And that's actually one of the reasons why people fail in the morning, is because they didn't set themselves up for success the night before. They don't know the next step when they first wake up. That's why when you go to bed, you actually want to go to bed with a purpose. That's how you have more peak experiences. But also when you wake up, you want to know what to do next. You don't want to make decisions in your hazy, tired state. And one of the reasons people procrastinate is because they haven't set up that next step so that it's easy when they start the next time. For a long time, I was a very prolific writer. I blogged, and my blog's been read by literally over 100 million people. But one of the things that helped me write so effectively was that the night before, I just wrote out like a few bullet points of what I would write the next morning. I gave myself the next step so that when I woke up, I actually had something to work with rather than having to start from scratch. So you're probably procrastinating possibly because you don't know the next step and you haven't set yourself up for that next step. Once you actually take that next step, then motivation really starts kicking in and you start to have some momentum. Number 6, you assume your future self will actually have more time. This is one of the major reasons why people procrastinate, is because they don't value their future self's time. It's a lot easier to value your current self's time than your future self's time. The truth though is that your future self's time is actually worth more than your current self's time. That may sound weird and counterintuitive, especially because we live in a world where we always emphasize the present. But the truth is, from like an investing standpoint, $1 now for your current self is probably worth $5 to $10 for your future self. Like when you're really taking into account compound interest and all of those things. And your current self's time is actually probably worth a lot more too. Now, that's not to say that the present doesn't matter. The present matters a lot. But when you procrastinate, you assume that your future self has all the time in the world. And actually, there you're devaluing your future self's time. If you use your time really well now, your future self's time will be worth 5 to 10 times as much in terms of value. It's just like compound interest. $1 for you today is probably worth $5 to your future self if you invested it properly and if it compounded. That's the same way as time. If you invest your time now well, your future self will have more and better time. If you assume that your future self has all the time in the world, so therefore you'll push off the decision to your future self, you're devaluing your future self's time and you're assuming that your future self has more time than they really have. You're also assuming that your future self cares about what you care about. And that's not true. Your future self doesn't care about what you care about. They're worried about their own issues. They're worried about what's important to them. And by pushing things off to your future self, it's what Carol Dweck would call a fixed mindset. Instead of assuming that your future self cares about what you care about, it's important to realize they're in a more evolved place than you because of what you're doing in the present. You're setting them up for success and you're setting them up for being able to focus on better things. Here's the final reason, number 7. You're not the one to do it. So Dan Sullivan is the founder of Strategic Coach. He's probably the best entrepreneurial coach in the world right now. His company is called Strategic Coach, and he has a concept called Who Not How. And this is something he learned from a guy named Dean Jackson, who's also a genius marketer. But Who Not How is an idea that when you procrastinate, it's because you are excited about the future, but you're not the one to do it. You don't want to go through the steps of the path. Maybe, for example, as an example, me filming this video. One of the reasons why I might procrastinate doing this is because I don't like editing. But if you get someone else to do that part of it, that's why it's who, not how. One of the reasons you procrastinate is because there's aspects of the path or aspects of the process that you simply don't want to do and that you shouldn't do. And this is where teamwork comes into play. We as a culture and the traditional education system has kind of failed us. It's taught us that by working in teams and by collaborating, we're cheating. In the public education system, if you try to get help from friends, you're cheating. But in the world of business and in the world of work, that's not how it works. You can get other people to help you with your goals. And there's probably aspects of your goal that you shouldn't do. You should do the few things that really you love to do and that you want to do and that that you get the most bang for your buck because you've got the skills. But there's aspects of big goals that are outside your skill level or outside your desire. And so you're procrastinating those aspects of the process because there's just too much aspect. And so by getting other people involved, not only do you support them because they want to be involved in your vision, but you also no longer have to procrastinate. You do your part of it, they do their part of it, and things get done a lot faster. And so the faster you can apply who, not how in your life by actually teaming with people, collaborating with people, and honestly hiring people to help you with the parts of the work or the process that you don't want to do, the less you'll procrastinate because you'll focus on the few things you love and you'll let them focus on the things that they love. So those are the 7 reasons, and hopefully that clarifies why you procrastinate. And if you want to increase your motivation, and also if you want to get better results, apply those 7 steps. Have a great day. Subscribe to the channel. Talk to you later.